What is it that's holding you back, keeping you from becoming everything that God has created you to be, living your purpose and reaching your destiny? Is it self doubt, feeling that you don't measure up to others? Perhaps it's fear or lack of resources, offenses and challenges, maybe even past or current circumstances. Well, I want you to know that these are pathologies, diseases of the mind that negatively impact how you think and perceive things that invade your everyday life. You can overcome these peculiarities and become conquerors, living in the purpose that God has for your life. The Bible in Philippians 4:13 teaches us, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Hello, I'm your coach Dee Johnson, and I'm going to share with you on how you can overcome these pathologies and be all that God created you to be on today's Watering the Seed. Hey seeds, welcome back to Watering the Seed, where healing isn't just a hashtag, it's a lifestyle. We don't just talk about it, we live it, breathe it, and grow through it, every twist and test. I'm your host, Coach D, and today we're diving back into a message that's been pressing heavy on some hearts. A message that's been pressing heavy on some hearts. Trading treasure for tricks. If you caught part one, then you already know this ain't no surface level chat. We exposed how easy it is to hand over the sacred for something shining, to trade what's priceless for what's performative. But today, claiming the reset and the reframing. So grab your journal, take a deep breath, and let's get into it because it's time to take your treasures back. Now, before we get into that, I received an important question in my DM that just may resonate with many of us. And I'd like to address it. I won't use names to protect the identities, but the question is, Coach D, why do we stay? Well, in Trading Treasure for Tricks Part 1, I gave examples that revealed why a person may be over explaining their value, and that was in hopes of being treated fairly. I also gave it a name, emotional labor wrapped in desperation. You're trying to earn a seat at a table you helped build. So let's start there and address our Watering the Seed family members' question. Why do we stay? So ask yourself, why do I stay? I'm glad you asked. You see, there are many reasons some of us stay, but I'll go over the top three that just keeps us hanging on. The songstress says, you just keep me hanging on. It's not them, it's you. I know that hurts. It hurt me too. When I woke up and saw myself in a predicament that kept me hanging on, it hurt me too. So let's go over these three things that keeps us hanging on. The first is trauma bonds, okay? Let me break this down. A trauma bond is an emotional attachment formed between the treasure and the trickster. The trickster being someone who repeatedly causes harm, neglect, or manipulation, yet occasionally offers love, comfort, or attention. This push-pull incredibly intense and confusing for many of us. These bonds are usually formed through love bombing, which is the attachment phase, where they love on you, feed you false securities. For example, in the workplace, you may hear, you did a great job on this project. You did a great job on this project, or I don't know what we would do without you. But when it's time to show tangible evidence of their appreciation, it's non existent. And in a friendship, you may hear, you're the best friend I've ever had. I hope you never stop being my friend, but behind your back and speaks ill of you to others. Or in an intimate relationship, be it a boyfriend, girlfriend, doesn't matter, intimate relationships. You may hear, I've had many girlfriends, but if I put them all together, they still couldn't make one of you. Friends, but if I put them all together, they still couldn't make one of you. Or here's a few classic ones for the fellas that a woman may use to reel you in emotionally, especially early on after after a conflict. You're the best guy I've ever dated. Nobody ever cared about me the way you do. Or, you make me feel so safe around you. I've never felt this safe with anyone before. Yeah, it sounds sweet, affirming, and deeply personal, really. But if it's being used as a manipulation tactic, maybe too soon or too often, it can be part of a toxic emotional trap. Sex is also a huge form of love bombing in an intimate relationship. It's used to cloud your thoughts before the betrayal, mistreatment, lying, and sometimes even physical abuse. These out there, physical abuse means putting hands on you. So, um, then half the half baked apologies. This is good. The half baked apologies that come across as sincere, even breaking down in tears at times. You know. Then there's the excuses that usually place the blame elsewhere, including or especially on you, but never on themselves where it really belongs. Also, emotional breadcrumbing. Okay, that's one that I had to look up because I'd heard it before, sure about what it actually meant, and so my aha moment came. So now with breadcrumbing, this is a true form of manipulation in any relationship, be it work, friendship, romantic, or even mentorships. The trickster feeds you small tidbits of attention here and there just to keep you interested, but ultimately has no real intentions of promoting you, committing to you, or honoring you. They leave a trail of good intentions to lead you down a path of hope, never really binding. Equivalent of being on a roller coaster ride. You're not sure whether you're safe, but the highs feel so good. They make you forget or forgive the lows even happened. It's a cycle. First, you get the promise, then the hurt, then the apologies, and then the hope, and then it repeats. It often shows up in toxic or abusive relationships, be it romantic, family, friends. And I've even seen this happen in mentorships. First, you get the hope, then the promise, and then there's the expectation, guilt, guilt, and then repeat. They offer hope in exchange for what you can add to them, but what they're offering doesn't equal or add up to what they promise. And when you don't live up to their expectation, you're made to feel less than who you are and what you're actually capable of. You have to keep going until their appetite is satisfied. And just for the record, it'll never be enough. So then the cycle repeats, okay? And what's most dangerous in this scenario is that eventually the person being harmed starts justifying or excusing the behavior, clinging to the good moments like lifelines. Your nervous system gets addicted to the chaos because it's now normalized as a connection. And this leaves the treasurer feeling hurt, confused, disrespected, and just strung along. This loop feeds on inconsistency, which keeps the brain chasing the next good moment. It's like a pack of sunflower seeds, where you can't eat just one because you're looking for that one good burst of sunflower flavor at a slot machine that keeps pulling the lever until they hit the matching icons. The problem is you empty the pack of sunflower seeds or you run out of coins before that good moment happens. Okay? And so that is uh, trauma bonds. Those are trauma bonds. And then the next one is ego entanglements. So with ego entanglements, which is another reason why we stay in relationships, or we don't go, or we stay too long, it's our own ego. An ego that won't allow us to let go or to leave. An ego entanglement is when your identity, your pride, and or your sense of self becomes tangled up in a relationship a role, or an outcome that tricks you into believing that letting go equals failure, even when staying is hurting you and in some cases, killing you. Some believe that it's a measure of love, but in reality, it's not about love at all. It's more about a need we have to prove a point, saving face, protecting a fake image, and in many cases, just winning. Yourself, your purpose, your soul in the process, you've played a dangerous game and you've lost it all. Ego entanglements usually stem from some sort of bad experience, past experience, be it our own or someone else's that we observed or are currently observing. I call it someone's soap opera, but in either case, it touched our nervous system and caused trauma, insecurity, or fear of failure and not winning. This creates a need to control outcomes, which eventually leads back to trauma bonds. So in this case, are you the treasure or are you the trickster? Now, there it is. This is a aha moment, okay? Now, there's something for you to ponder over. Are you the treasure or are you the trickster? Because these ego entanglement behaviors lead to narcissistic attitudes or behaviors. And I want to tell you a real life story about three brothers, a brotherhood that turned competitive. I won't use names to protect their identities, but we'll call them brothers 1, 2, and 3. Keep it simple. Keep it simple. So the three brothers they're close in they are close in age because they're still here with us. And because of this, they grew up in a very close relationship, sharing, caring, and loving. And when these brothers became adolescents, they began to date. Harrison began. Things like my girlfriend looks better than yours, my girl dresses better, I can get more girls' phone numbers than you, and so on. It just goes on and on. And at first glance, this seemed quite common. And for some of the fellas out there, this seemed quite common. And for some of the fellas out there, you can probably relate to this. It seems just really just innocent competition and just really common. And it is common, actually. It is common. But then as they grew older, the brothers, so did the competition. And this behavior followed them into adulthood. And today, these young men are well in their 30s. And every conversation they have turns into a subtle flex at first and then an outright verbal war zone. I mean, it gets pretty bad at times. It's so bad that they actually call family who has the better job, the better girlfriend, the better car, who's the smartest, who dresses better, who makes the best choices, who has the better life. It's exhausting. It just goes on and on and on. Recently, brother 3 expressed to me that brothers 1 and 2 often downplay each other and him as well, creating an environment where each feels the need to defend their choices and justify their place in the brotherhood. Brother number 3, at times, more often than not, he finds himself in a position where he has to fight just to maintain his place in the brotherhood. And so he said that he had to step back from the relationship, significantly limiting his interactions with brothers 1 and 2. He expressed that with brothers 1 and 2. He expressed that he shouldn't have to explain, defend, or apologize for his decisions just to be chosen, respected, or treated fairly. But in order to protect his peace, he chose to limit his interactions with his brothers. But brothers 1 and 2 continued to engage, unable or unwilling to let go. The result? All three are left feeling depleted, unappreciated, disrespected, and emotionally bruised, not from love, but from exhausting efforts of fighting for position, controlling outcomes, and trying to save each other's lives. What they fail to realize is that the behavior isn't rooted in love or brotherhood, it's driven by ego. They're no longer trying to connect, they're trying to win. And sadly, the saga continues. So if you are exhibiting any of the following behavior, you may just be caught up in an ego entanglement. Number one, you stay in a role at your workplace or a relationship because you don't want them to win or prove you wrong, meaning you don't want to be the blame for the separation. You just may be caught up in an ego. And number two, if you're more focused on defending your decision than listening to your intuition, common sense, you just may be caught up in an ego entanglement. You keep showing up. Number three, not out of love, but out of fear that leaving means admitting you made a bad choice. You just may be caught up admitting you made a bad choice. You just may be caught up in an ego entanglement, folks. All right? And four, you confuse loyalty and suffering with strength and endurance. You just may be caught up in an ego entanglement. And then lastly, if you've tricked yourself into believing that whisper, maybe this is a good or this is as good as it gets, and that brings me to the third reason as to why we may stay too long. Narrative that whispers maybe this is as good as it gets. But newsflash, this is not as good as it gets. So stop lying to yourselves. Don't lie to yourself. Because believing that something, especially a bad situation, is as good as it gets is a belief system subconsciously adopted based on past wounds, childhood experiences, or repeated disappointments. It's a mental script that gets burned into your identity and quietly shapes your self worth and expectations. And this is a dangerous place to be because that quiet becomes a trap dressed up as realism, your reality. It's a coping mechanism used to mask your misalignment and unwillingness to operate in your purpose. Also, to feel safe or to be validated, you may inadvertently project that lie onto others, like wisdom. But it's not wisdom because it tells you one, don't expect better, two, settle before you're alone, three, be grateful they stayed even if they don't respect you, four, you're lucky to have something. And then lastly, this is the infamous one, something is better than nothing. I know you've all heard it before. I've heard it a million times in my lifetime. Something is better than nothing. But those who have been through some really tough relationships can testify that their nothing is much better than the something they had. So to put it plainly, that belief is not true. It isn't true. It's a survival mode disguised as wisdom. It's survival mode disguised as wisdom. It's survival mode disguised as wisdom. Coach D, how do I reclaim my treasure? Hey, I'm glad you asked. Redemption. You reclaim your treasure through reclaiming redemption. Okay? The answer is redemption. You see, when you realize you've been trading sacred parts of yourself, your time, your truth, your emotional gold for temporary validation or empty gestures, the next step is redemption. It is not revenge, okay? I repeat, it's not revenge. Family, my seeds out there, it's not about revenge, it's about the resurrection. If you've made it to this space or this place in your life, then you're not here to get even. You can't afford to trade any more of your treasure for tricks. You're here to rise above the trauma bonds, the ego entail narrative, that lie that keeps you in bondage, seeking revenge, trying to hurt them the way they hurt you, only creates more injury to you. Because now you have been tricked into being more like them and less of who you really are. You become less of yourself, causing you to lose more of your You become less of yourself, causing you to lose more of your treasure and possibly bankrupting your future. Seeking revenge will take you further away from alignment and put a stamp on your purpose that reads null and void. Action, on the other hand, is saying, I'm no longer available for anything that shrinks me. It's the moment you stop proving and start preserving. You breathe life back into the parts of you that were ignored, that were silenced, and that were slowly fading into oblivion. You rebuild from the inside out. This isn't about making them regret losing you. It's about you remembering you were never lost. It's about detaching. Detaching doesn't mean you failed. It means you finally remembered your value. It's about letting go. Letting go doesn't mean the relationship didn't matter. It simply means that you matter too. When you detach, it's not weakness, it's wisdom. You're not walking away from love. You're walking away from any connection that demanded you shrink yourself in order to stay in that relationship. This is how you reclaim your treasure, by refusing to explain, defend, or dilute it for people who never saw your full value to begin with. They only saw the parts of them they could use for their benefit, and the rest, well, the rest wanted to bury. And the only way that could happen is if you are a willing party and you bury it too. Nobody can bury you. Only you can bury yourself. So you have to be a willing party. Detaching doesn't mean you failed. It means you. It's not about revenge. It's about resurrection. And so in closing, I want you to remember these 6 things. A trauma bond doesn't mean you want the pain. It means the pain is wrapped in just enough pleasure to keep you stuck. Healing a trauma bond isn't about walking away once. It's about retraining your nervous system to recognize chaos is not love. Ego entanglements trick you into thinking endurance equals success, but the real strength is surrendering to the battle and choosing peace. Peace. Letting go doesn't make you weak, it makes you free. That adage or old narrative, it's not your intuition, it's your inner child trying to feel safe. And you don't grow by listening to the voice of fear, you grow it. Now, if this hits home with you, I want you to journal this. Where have I traded treasure for tricks? And how do I recover the part of me I gave away? Until next time, seeds, guard your treasure and keep watering those seeds. I love you. Bye-bye.